Namaste student. Today we have to discuss about the chapter number 1st of class 12 history, that is brick, beads and bones. In this chapter basically we have to discuss about the oldest civilization which was found in the world, and that is Harappan civilization. Why we called it Harappa civilization and why we called it a civilization related to the Harappa? Because the first site which was excavated by the archaeologist in this particular civilization is Harappa. So by that reason this site or this civilization is known as Harappa civilization. Another names were also introduced by the archaeologists related to this civilization, like Indus Valley civilization. Now why we called it Indus Valley civilization? This particular civilization was mainly found in Indus Valley areas which are present right now in the areas of Pakistan, some parts of Rajasthan, Punjab and Gujarat. So by these reasons we called it Indus Valley civilization. Let's see about the brief introduction about related to Indus Valley civilization, or we can say Harappa civilization. This civilization was started or emerged in year 2600 BCE, means to say 2600 before Common Era, and this was lasted in 1900 BCE. So the period of this civilization is very large, and the survival of the people, those who are found under this in this civilization, they were well developed, they were having a good knowledge about their agriculture practices, about trade and commerce, and one of the most important, survival. And these three important features make this civilization world's oldest, biggest, successful and developed civilization. This civilization was categorized under the two different periods. First, early Harappan culture. Second is mature Harappan culture. In early Harappan culture, we can find out the sites which was excavated by the archaeologists or historians in a first stage of excavation, means to say in year 1920 to 1921. So on the basis of that, they were found some important artifacts, remains in some important sites of Harappa civilization like Lothal, Dholavira, Kalibangan, Mohenjo-daro. These are the some important sites where the archaeologists find very oldest remain of these civilization. On the basis of their carbon dating process, they received about the proper period of time, and on the basis of that period of time, the historians classified the Harappan civilization into a early Harappan culture. Now in a mature Harappan culture, in this particular period or in this particular term, we can find out the new sites which are excavated by the historians, archaeologists in a area of Indus Valley civilization or Harappan civilization like Cholistan, Shordogai. These are the some newly excavated areas under Harappa civilization, as well as the importantly artifacts and the remains which were found out under these mature Harappan culture is been also having a very large gap between early Harappan remains and the mature Harappan remains. Second thing we have to discuss in this topic about the substances strategies. Substances strategies means to say in this topic we have to find out the dietary system or practices found under Harappan civilization, or in other word we can say what type of food they were used for their survival. They were using both type of foods like plants and animal, means to say they are vegetarian as well as non-vegetarian. In a excavation of Harappan sites, important sites like the Harappa, Mohenjo-daro and in Lothal, Banavali, so many archaeologists found out some important sources, remains through which they can say that most of the people, those who are survive in this Harappa civilization, are vegetarian. So many type of warehouses, or we can say the granaries were found. In those granaries, the archaeologists find out some important sources of food crops like wheat, barley, etc. And by that reason, the archaeologists or historians tell us that the most of the population which are living under the Harappan civilization related to vegetarian. Now, in a excavation of other sites like in a Lothal especially and in a Dholavira, archaeologists especially found some bones related to the cattle, sheep, goats, and these bones are found out nearby the houses. So on the basis of that, historians and archaeologists can give an idea that these important cattle were also being used by the Harappan peoples as a diet or as a food. So on the basis of that, the archaeologists tell us some people, those who were living in Harappa civilization are non-vegetarian. So by that reason we can say that both of people, vegetarian and non-vegetarian people, were found under the Harappan civilization. Also, by the excavation of some important sites like Cholistan, Banavali and Kalibangan, our archaeologists found some important agricultural fields. And by that ideas and remains, the archaeologists tell us about the thing that people, those who are living in Harappan civilization, they were highly maintained, or they were highly used the agriculture as their survival, or we can say in other word, the occupation of main occupation of Harappan civilization based people was the agriculture, because the plough field was found out in Kalibangan, the plough field also found out in Banavali, and the fields are very well maintained. 2 forest rows were maintained. So according to that, historians also told us 2 type of crops were easily grown by the Harappan peoples. By that reason we can say the Harappan peoples are very well known about the agriculture. Second thing, they were also maintained some water reservoirs. One of the huge water reservoir found in Dholavira, that water reservoir is used by the Harappan people for agriculture practices. In that water reservoir they kept, or they harvest, or they collect the rainwater, and after the raining season they use that water for the irrigation. Also in a Afghanistan range, Shotagai, one important Harappan site, or the newly founded Harappan site Shotagai, where the archaeologists find out the remains of canals. That is also shown that the people of Harappan civilization were also know about the technologies related to the agricultural practices. Second thing, they were also used about bulls or oxen for the ploughing. The terracotta bull sculptures, statues were also found, that considered as a very important source to know about the agriculture productivity. And by that reason, the archaeologists tell us about the bull or oxen were used for agricultural practices. Second thing, the method of snowing is not clear, means to say the pattern which was followed by the farmers or the peoples, those who are living in Harappan civilization, that is not clear what type of pattern they were following. They normally snow the seeds in an agriculture field, but we cannot having a proper information in which particular time period they were doing these agriculture practices. So these are the some important points which we have to discuss today about the Indus Valley civilization, or we can say Harappa civilization. Let's see in a very brief way. First we have to discuss about the introduction, in which we found out the major characteristics, like it is the oldest civilization. The civilization divided into 2 different periods: early Harappan civilization or early Harappan culture, mature Harappan civilization, or we can say mature Harappan culture. Then the period when it was emerged, that is 2600 BCE. Along with these important features, we also discuss about the substances strategies which was practiced by the agriculture, by the people of Harappa civilization, means to say they were well known about the agriculture practices. They were also doing pastoralism. By these 2 important occupations they received their survival. So that's all, student, for today. Namaste.